Good morning. I want to talk to you about a tough question today. How do we know whom we should marry? Or more precisely, whether we should marry? This is one of the first questions that Madeline was thinking about as she moved through this new world in New France. Is marriage a contract that God has set up for us? Did in fact God plan marriage? Did he put the desire in each of us for a mate? Well, the Bible tells us yes. And many cultures, whether it's Judeo-Christian or something else, does support the institution of marriage. Genesis talks about God wanting man to have a suitable helper. He talks about man and woman wanting to complement one another, to become one flesh with one another. Last summer, I was at my niece's wedding, and the pastor was talking about the union between man and woman, the earthly union of becoming one, was really a small, tiny model for the heavenly union of Christ becoming one with his church. So that what we experienced in marriage on earth was a foretaste of what we would experience in heaven. I've looked around myself in nature, and I have found that many animals do pair bonding. Perhaps God instituted marriage because he wants us to create a cocoon for the protection of our young. If you notice eagles, if you've ever watched eagles in an eyrie, if there are eggs in their nest, you will find that the female, the mother, will be sitting on the eggs. The male will fly in with some food. The mother will carefully roll the eggs and then step out of the nest, while the father then steps in and feeds the babies, and the mother goes off to get more food. And they repeat this cycle, sharing the responsibility for raising their young during the whole time of incubation and hatching. So the question I have for you is, assuming that God does want us to involve ourselves in the institution of marriage, what are the ingredients of a good marriage? Paul talks about the woman needing to submit to the man, and submit is the word hypotasso, which is under the headship of, or in the order of being placed below. But it has to do with an attitude of willing cooperation. Paul then talks about the man needing to love the woman dearly, agapeo, to be content with her, to be pleased with her. So maybe the ingredients of a good marriage are as simple as respect and love. I don't know. Annie Nolene, one of our characters, basically thought that independence was fine and financial security was equivalent to having a man. Well, if you're a woman and you don't have a man in your life, do you feel you're incomplete? Or if you're a man and there's no woman, do you feel you're less a man? That's really the question, because we've got to be secure in ourselves before we move into a partnership. You know, it's interesting watching nowadays the internet datings, this compatibility that eHarmony and Christian Mingle does. It's certainly a substitute for the matchmakers of Fiddler on the Roof and Hello Dolly. But it's interesting because the computer can establish a percent of compatibility. X is compatible with Y at 82%, or R is compatible with Q at 63%. Well, I have to tell you an interesting story. I was on one of those dating sites, and I was matched with a man at 100% compatibility. The only problem, he was my ex-husband. So certainly the computer nor matchmakers can really figure out the ingredients that make up a good marriage. Madeline was wondering not only if she should marry, but whom she should marry. So this is what I want to challenge you about as readers. I would love to come up with a list of what are the ingredients that go into a good marriage. Maybe we could even make up guidelines and publish it, and at least it would be helpful for our children and our grandchildren. Madeline was utterly confused. Should she follow LaSalle, pick LaSalle? Should she pick Antoine? Should she pick Tonato? Should she pick some other French colonial? That is the theme of some of the rest of the chapters. She didn't know. She was quite confused. So the good news is those of us who know Jesus Christ can turn to our Creator and ask for his guidance on this matter, because he knows us better than anybody. Well, I'd love your input. As readers, write into me telling me what you think are the qualities that we should look for in our spouse. How do we know whether the person is the person we should marry? And I want you to enjoy your reading this week. Next Thursday is the 4th of July. I wish you a very happy Independence Day.